In the East Asian Art Exhibition room of the Boston Museum of Fine Arts, Olivia Clayton was adjusting the final lighting. Her exhibition was set to open to the public tomorrow, and tickets were already sold out. Standing alone in the dimly lit hall, she reaffirmed the ephemeral beauty emanating from the artwork. Still working, a gentle voice came from behind her. Turning around, she saw Marcus Finch standing at the entrance. The man with sharp eyes and a warm smile was a lawyer who taught at Harvard Law School while also serving as a partner at a prestigious law firm. Just the finishing touches, Olivia smiled. This exhibition will be something special in my career. Marcus quietly approached and put his arm around Olivia's shoulders. It's perfect. It has your characteristic delicacy and boldness together. Olivia rested her head on Marcus's chest. She had established her reputation as a senior curator at the museum. Particularly in the field of East Asian art, her exhibition projects always created a buzz. Her professional success was the culmination of years of effort and passion. Let's go home, Marcus said gently. Tomorrow is your big day. That night, in their apartment, Marcus opened a bottle of champagne. A toast. To celebrate your wonderful exhibition. As they clinked glasses, Olivia savored her happiness. Since their engagement 8 months ago, their relationship had deepened even further. Preparations for next month's wedding were also progressing steadily. For the first time in her life, Olivia felt she had found a place where she could be completely at ease. However, while Marcus was in the bathroom, her eyes were fixed on an unopened invitation sitting on the desk in the study. The elegant envelope was addressed to the Mr. Harold Clayton and Mrs. Elizabeth Clayton, in beautiful calligraphy. A dark shadow fell across Olivia's heart. She had agonized for weeks about whether to mail this invitation. The letter postmarked March 15 was the first contact she had made with her family home in 12 years. No word from them? Marcus asked quietly when he returned. Olivia shook her head. As expected. There's still time, Marcus said encouragingly, but seeing Olivia's expression darken, he changed the subject. What would you like for dinner tonight? Olivia tried to smile, but her mind had flown to her parents' mansion in Newton, a suburb of Boston. All her memories of that place were painful. Harold Clayton was a successful investment banker, well known throughout the New England region. His strict personality always demanded perfection. His wife, Elizabeth, was a pillar of Boston society with extensive connections through her charitable activities. Their expectations were always directed at their daughters. However, only Caroline, Olivia's sister who was 2 years younger, could meet those expectations. Caroline was always an exemplary student, graduated from Harvard University at the top of her class, and now was the youngest partner at a famous investment firm. Olivia. Marcus's voice interrupted her thoughts. I'm sorry, Olivia came back to herself. Anything is fine. Whatever you like. Late that night, as Marcus breathed steadily beside her, Olivia stared at the ceiling. She hadn't told her family the truth. She had explained to Marcus that they were simply estranged, but the reality was much darker. From childhood, Olivia had always been the wrong child. Her passion for art was criticized as impractical, and expressing her emotions brought scolding for being selfish. On her 12th birthday, instead of the painting set she wanted, her father gave her a mathematics textbook. When she won a prize at her school's art exhibition at 16, her parents didn't even attend. 7 years of silence at the dinner table. 10 ignored birthdays. 20 unanswered phone calls. Countless instances of, why can't you be more like Caroline? The final straw was her college graduation. When Olivia received her degree in art history from Brown University, her parents publicly criticized her for betraying our expectations. That night, she packed her bags and never returned. 12 years since then. Olivia had succeeded on her own, but deep in her heart, there was always a void caused by her family's absence. Marcus turned over and put his arm around her. I love you, he mumbled, half asleep. Olivia felt tears in her eyes. The real reason she had sent the wedding invitation. She thought this might be the last chance. If her family would come to the most important day of her life, perhaps there might be room for reconciliation. But there had been no reply. Olivia squeezed Marcus's hand. Tomorrow was the opening day of her new exhibition. And in a month, she would likely face a wedding without her family. Yet she still had hope. She had Marcus, who truly understood her worth. That was what she had been seeking for years. "Would you prefer roses, or do you like lilies better?" the female florist asked Olivia with a smile. "I'd like a bouquet mixing pink peonies and white roses," Olivia answered without hesitation. The combination of elegance and sophistication reflected her aesthetic sense. Next to her, Rachel let out an admiring sound. As expected from a curator. "Whatever flowers you choose look like a painting." Olivia's best friend, Rachel Green, had been her friend since college days and now worked as a pediatrician at Boston General Hospital. Rachel's presence, accompanying her for wedding preparations every weekend, was a great support for Olivia. "The wedding planner, Claire, has volunteered to play the role of your mother," Rachel said, sipping her coffee. "She'll come with you for the dress fitting too." Olivia caught her breath slightly. Bridal preparations were traditionally done with one's mother. The sight of happy mother-daughter pairs in magazines and on television suddenly brought pain to her heart. "Thank you," she smiled, but her eyes weren't smiling. When she returned to the apartment that night, Marcus wasn't home yet. Recently, he had been working on a major litigation case and often stayed late at the office. Olivia poured herself a glass of wine and stood by the window. The Boston night skyline was beautifully illuminated. Her phone vibrated with a message from Marcus. "Going to be a bit later. But I'll definitely be home. Love you." Olivia smiled and replied, "Don't worry. Focus on your work. Love you too." She glanced at the shelves in the living room. There were several binders for wedding preparations lined up. Wedding planner Claire had promised a perfect ceremony. The venue was the Abbey Room at the Boston Public Library. It was a choice that harmonized Olivia's aesthetic sense with Marcus's classical taste. But every time she looked at the guest list, Olivia's heart grew heavy. Marcus's side of the list was filled with names of his parents, siblings, uncles, aunts, and cousins. In contrast, Olivia's side only had names of friends. The family section remained blank. Olivia opened another binder. Reading through the detailed page of ceremony proceedings, her eyes caught the words, "Bride's entrance with father." Claire had already modified this section to read, "Bride enters alone." Looking at those words, tears suddenly welled up. Olivia had thought she had become stronger. Since leaving home, she had carved her own path. But standing at this milestone in life, her family's absence was too big a void. The sound of the front door opening broke the silence. "I'm home," Marcus's tired voice called out. Olivia quickly wiped away her tears and turned around with a smile. "Welcome back." Marcus noticed her red eyes but said nothing. Instead, he quietly sat next to Olivia and took her hand. "Are you okay?" Olivia shook her head. "I'm sorry. I feel silly, just thinking about the wedding." Marcus embraced her. "You're not silly at all. I completely understand how you feel." Olivia took a deep breath. "Marcus, there's something I haven't told you completely." Marcus silently looked into her eyes, encouraging her to continue. "My parents were not just estranged. They rejected me. No matter what I did, I could never meet their expectations. When I chose to pursue art, my father said I was a disgrace to this family. My mother showed her loyalty to my father by ignoring my existence." "Caroline?" Olivia's voice faltered. "Caroline?" Marcus quietly asked. "She became my parents' ideal daughter. I can't blame her. She adapted to survive." Olivia gave a bitter smile. "But she abandoned me too. The last time I saw her was at my grandmother's funeral. Even then, they didn't contact me directly, I found out through my aunt. Marcus frowned. And yet you still sent them an invitation after all that? I was foolish, Olivia murmured. To think anything would change. No, Marcus said firmly. It's a testament to hope. You're much stronger than they are. Olivia leaned against him. I dreamed of my father walking me down the aisle. I dreamed of my mother helping me with my dress. Marcus squeezed her hand tightly. Olivia, listen. Our wedding will be perfect. It will be filled with people who matter to us. And most importantly, he gently lifted her chin, looking into her eyes, you have me. I'll always be by your side. These words sounded like more than just a promise. There was a determination in Marcus's gaze that Olivia had never seen before. I believe you, she replied. That night, Olivia slept peacefully for the first time in a long while. In her dream, she stood at the entrance of a church in a white dress. Someone was waiting for her beyond the doors. Who it was, she couldn't yet tell. Early May in Boston was adorned with flowers announcing the arrival of spring. In the garden of the Boston Public Library, dogwood trees were in full bloom, their white petals dancing in the wind. In a few hours, the wedding of Olivia Clayton and Marcus Finch would take place inside this historic building. Take a deep breath, Rachel gently pressed Olivia's shoulders. You've never looked more beautiful. Olivia's reflection in the large mirror of the preparation room was indeed breathtaking. Her simple yet elegant silk wedding dress fit perfectly to her slender body, with the high-neck design emphasizing the grace of her neckline. Her hair was loosely pinned up, with a small vintage tiara sparkling. Nervous? Jennifer, the makeup artist, asked while checking the back of the dress. Yes, but it's happy nervousness, Olivia smiled. That was only half true. There was a knock at the door, and wedding planner Claire peeked in. 15 minutes to go. Almost all the guests are seated. Claire's expression seemed hesitant about something, and Olivia immediately understood. The family seats? Claire apologetically shook her head. Don't worry. Rachel's parents have taken seats in the front row. Olivia felt gratitude along with a pain in her chest. Until the very end, she had hoped her family would appear. She wanted to show them herself, radiant and bride-like in her pure white dress. Even if there was no one to see her, she had decided to cherish this day. I'm ready, Olivia said quietly. The Abbey Room, which served as the venue, harmonized 19th-century majestic architecture with modern decorations. Chandeliers hanging from the high ceiling cast a soft light, and sunlight streaming through the windows reflected off the marble floor. White and pink flower arrangements elegantly adorned the venue, and about 100 guests waited in a solemn atmosphere for the bride's entrance. The majestic sound of the pipe organ began to resonate. Marcus stood before the altar, nervously watching the entrance. Beside him stood his best friend and best man, David. The entrance doors opened, and the bridesmaids slowly entered. Rachel walked last, and as she took her position, the music changed. Wagner's bridal chorus resonated, and everyone stood up and turned around. Olivia took a deep breath and stood alone at the entrance. This was the place where her father should have been taking her arm. She hesitated for a moment but quickly raised her face. She could see the love and pride in Marcus's gaze as he looked at her. That look alone gave her the courage to move forward. As Olivia began to walk slowly, sighs escaped from the guests. Her calm beauty and strength made this moment special. But looking ahead, she could see that the front row family seats were empty. Rachel's parents were sitting in different seats, and those empty seats visually represented the void in her heart. Olivia paused for a moment, her shoulders dropping. But seeing Marcus's warm smile, she began walking again. Upon reaching the altar, Marcus took her hand. He whispered softly, "You are breathtakingly beautiful." The minister began the ceremony. Ladies and gentlemen gathered here today. We have come together to celebrate the marriage of Olivia Clayton and Marcus Finch. As the solemn words echoed, Olivia once again felt acutely the absence of her family. This was supposed to be a day filled with joy, but part of her heart was in pain. The time came to exchange vows. Marcus took both her hands and looked deeply into her eyes. His voice was strong, reaching every corner of the room. Olivia, today I vow to take you as my wife. I promise to share your joys and sorrows, to protect, support, and respect you. I accept all of your past and future, and promise to walk together. Tears welled up in Olivia's eyes. Marcus's words seemed to understand her entire heart. When it was her turn, she began her vows with a slightly trembling voice. Marcus, you have taught me what true love and acceptance are. Today, with joy, I take you as my husband. As Olivia tried to continue, Marcus suddenly whispered in her ear, I'm sure they'll come. Your family, I mean. She was surprised and stumbled over her words. There was a strange certainty in Marcus's eyes. Just as Olivia's face showed confusion, there was a loud noise at the back of the church. Everyone turned around to see the main doors flung open forcefully, and 3 people rushed in, looking panicked. The venue buzzed with whispers. Olivia gasped. There were faces she hadn't seen in over 10 years. Father Harold, Mother Elizabeth, and Sister Caroline. All 3 appeared flustered, their attire not properly arranged. Her father's appearance was particularly shocking. The man who was always perfectly dressed in a suit now had his tie undone and the top button of his shirt unfastened. Olivia, her mother cried out. There was an urgency in her voice that Olivia had never heard before. The venue fell silent instantly. Olivia was at a loss for words and looked at Marcus. His expression was strangely calm, even somewhat satisfied. Let's continue, the minister said, trying to control the situation, but Harold stepped forward. Please wait. We want to attend our daughter's wedding. Harold's voice was different from the dignified tone Olivia remembered. It sounded somewhat weak and unstable. Claire moved quickly and guided the 3 to the empty family seats. Olivia stood dumbfounded, unable to comprehend the sudden turn of events. Olivia, Marcus brought her attention back. Are you okay? Can we continue? She exhaled a shaky breath and slowly nodded. Yes. The ceremony continued, but Olivia's mind was in turmoil. Even as they exchanged vows and rings, Olivia couldn't help but be conscious of her family sitting in the front row. Her mother was in tears, her father wore an unnaturally rigid expression. Only Caroline gave her an apologetic smile. I now pronounce Marcus Finch and Olivia Clayton husband and wife. The minister's words were met with applause from the venue. As Marcus kissed Olivia, her heart was filled with a mixture of emotions, love and confusion, joy and questions. As they began to walk down the aisle, guests raised their voices in celebration. As Olivia passed by her family, she noticed her mother's eyes were red and swollen. Elizabeth tried to grab her daughter's hand, but Olivia instinctively avoided it. After more than a decade of rejection, she wasn't yet ready to accept sudden contact. Once outside the venue, Olivia grabbed Marcus's arm and asked in a low voice, "Did you know something? How did you know they would come?" Marcus gave her a gentle kiss. I'll explain everything later. Today is your day. Let's receive the blessings first. However, Olivia's intuition told her something significant had happened. Her life's biggest day had begun to take an unexpected direction. In the courtyard of the Boston Public Library, an elegant reception had begun. Under the gentle May sunshine, white tents had been set up, with tables decorated with flowers arranged in the center. The soft melody of a string quartet melted into the air, and champagne glasses sparkled as they reflected the light. Olivia and Marcus sat at the newlyweds' table, conversing with guests. Her smile was perfect, but her heart was still in confusion. The family table was a little distance away from them, and the 3 sat awkwardly. When are you going to tell me? Olivia whispered in Marcus's ear. Wait a little longer, he squeezed her hand. Trust me. After the toast speeches ended, dancing time began. Marcus invited Olivia, and the two danced in the center of the floor for their first dance. As the music played, they swayed slowly. As a child, whenever I dreamed of my wedding, I always imagined dancing with my father, Olivia murmured faintly. But now, I can't understand why they're here. You're the only disgrace to the family, don't get emotional, that's selfish, weak people don't survive in this world, her family's past words echoed in her heart. All those words, actions, and neglect had shaped her. Though she appeared successful and strong on the surface, those wounds remained deep. When the song ended, a second song began, and other couples joined the floor. It was then that Harold Clayton approached Olivia. "May I have this dance?" he asked in an uncertain voice. Olivia agreed with a tense expression. When her father's hand touched her waist, she felt her body stiffen. They moved awkwardly in silence. "You look beautiful," Harold finally spoke. "I didn't expect you to become so accomplished." Olivia didn't know how to respond. After more than a decade of rejection, what did this vague compliment mean? "Why did you come?" she asked quietly. Harold's expression clouded. "It's complicated." "How is it complicated? You didn't even respond to the invitation." "What changed?" He couldn't answer. When the song ended, Harold quickly returned to Elizabeth. For the next few hours, Olivia exchanged proper social conversation with her family, but there was no true dialogue. It seemed as if a secret they couldn't express was hidden in their eyes. As evening fell and many guests began to leave, Olivia witnessed Marcus and her father Harold engaged in an intense conversation in a corner of the library. Marcus's expression was stern, and Harold appeared to be bowing his head. They seemed to be arguing about something. "What happened?" she asked Marcus later, to which he lightly replied, "Just greetings." But his eyes spoke of something else. As the reception passed its peak, Olivia noticed voices coming from a small reading room on her way to the restroom. It was her mother Elizabeth's voice. She was talking to someone. "If we hadn't been threatened by that lawyer, we wouldn't have come." Elizabeth's voice was bitter and drunk. "Harold's career, our reputation." Olivia gasped and leaned against the wall. Marcus had been threatening her family? But how? Why? "What are you listening to?" Caroline's voice suddenly sounded. Olivia turned around, startled. Her sister stood there with an apologetic expression. "Do you know what Marcus did?" Olivia asked directly. Caroline hesitated for a moment but nodded. "We should talk. But not here." They quietly moved to a corner of the courtyard. The evening light cast long shadows on the library walls. "Marcus had been investigating us before he became your fiancé," Caroline said in a low voice. "He approached Father 3 months ago. He said he had evidence of the abuse and psychological neglect you had suffered from the family." Olivia's heart raced. "What evidence?" "Treatment records, testimonies from relatives, and..." Caroline seemed to be choosing her words. "Records of the report to Child Protective Services when you were 16. Olivia felt her face turn pale. When she was 16, a school counselor had reported her situation out of concern. However, due to Harold's social status and influence, that report had been quickly processed and supposedly erased from the records. Marcus threatened to make this information public. To Father's law firm partners, to Mother's friends in Boston society, he said he would reveal everything, Caroline continued. He demanded attendance at the wedding. That was his only condition. Olivia covered her face with trembling hands. Was Marcus's action out of love, or was he simply seeking justice for her? Either way, he had made a significant decision in her life without her knowledge. Father was furious. But Marcus's firm had powerful evidence. Eventually, Father yielded. Caroline's voice was mixed with fatigue. "We argued until morning. That's why we were late." Olivia felt her head spinning. The family attendance she had wished for years. But it wasn't out of love or reconciliation, but because of threats. Her heart was torn. Olivia, Marcus's voice came from behind her. Turning around, she saw him standing with an apologetic expression. Let's talk. Caroline quietly left, leaving the two alone. Why? Olivia couldn't control her emotions, her voice trembled. Why did you do this? I couldn't bear to see you hurt, Marcus answered quietly. What your parents did is unforgivable. They needed to be held accountable. That was for me to decide. Tears flowed from Olivia's eyes. You made a major decision about my life without my knowledge. That's because I love you, Marcus tried to take her hand, but Olivia pulled away. Don't touch me right now, she said. I need time to think. Olivia left the reception venue with a confused heart. Her wedding day was supposed to be filled with happiness and hope. However, it had become a whirlwind of complex emotions where her past and present collided. A month had passed since the wedding. Olivia was looking out the window of her office at the Boston Museum of Fine Arts. The June sunlight brightly illuminated Copley Square, where people could be seen coming and going. The day after the wedding, Olivia and Marcus postponed their planned honeymoon. She needed time to think. Marcus respected her decision and agreed to a temporary separation. The phone rang, and the display showed Caroline's name. She had been in touch with her sister several times since the wedding. Is dinner still on for today? Caroline's voice had a gentleness that wasn't there before. Yes, 7 o'clock at Bistro du Nord, Olivia replied. Her relationship with her sister had subtly changed. Caroline had confessed that she too had suffered from their parents' control and had started therapy. She sincerely wanted to repair her relationship with Olivia. Meanwhile, her relationship with her parents remained complex. After the wedding, Harold and Elizabeth had sent Olivia an apology letter. However, the words seemed more intent on protecting their social reputation than expressing genuine remorse. Olivia wrote a polite reply, stating that forgiving and forgetting are two different things. The clock struck 5. Today was her appointment with Marcus. When she arrived at the cafe, Marcus was already seated. His eyes showed fatigue and anxiety. The month of separation hadn't been easy for him either. Thank you for coming, he said quietly. Olivia took a deep breath. This past month, she had confronted her feelings. Marcus, I understand your actions came from love. But it was wrong to make decisions about my life without consulting me, she said calmly. I've had my voice ignored for years. I don't want anyone to take away my choices anymore. Even if it's someone I love. Marcus nodded silently. You're right. I was so caught up in my sense of justice that I lost sight of what was most important. Respecting your feelings. But without you, I might never have had the courage to face my family, Olivia added. I want to continue our relationship. But I have conditions. We attend psychological counseling together. And above all, we respect each other. Tears welled up in Marcus's eyes. I promise. On Sunday of the same week, Olivia was attending a small dinner party at Rachel's house. Around the table were friends who had supported her for years. Time spent with them always warmed her heart. A toast, Rachel raised her glass. To our family. Olivia savored the meaning of those words. Family isn't about blood ties. The people who cherish you are your true family. Outside the window, rain had begun to fall. Olivia thought about the new path unfolding before her. It might not be a perfect path. Old wounds would sometimes bring pain. But she was no longer alone. Surrounded by her own choices and people who truly cherished her, she would continue to walk forward. That was the way home she had been searching for all this time.